The first update we have today is on the recent arrest of Mary Cosby's son, Robert Cosby Jr. So he's facing some pretty severe charges and is currently in jail without bail, following a really disruptive incident at his estranged wife Alexiana's family home. It all started when her parents were alerted to loud banging noises. When they checked their home surveillance, they saw Robert Jr. kicking his mother-in-law's car. He's also accused of breaking a front window and throwing a rock through the window of a Mercedes at the home. When authorities arrived, Robert Jr. reportedly resisted arrest. We're talking pulling away, kicking, and even allegedly biting officers. And what's crucial here is that he was violating a protection order Alexiana had against him. Now, that order was put in place after he was arrested twice before. In one of those earlier incidents, he allegedly got into the house through a doggy door. Then, just 2 days after that, he was arrested again for returning to the home and allegedly punching his father-in-law several times. During that arrest, he reportedly told police he hears the victim's voice in his head telling him to come to the house. So as of now, he is still in custody and is being held without bail, partly because a report described him as having an elevated risk of committing a violent crime. Before we get into the next update, please make sure you've liked this video and subscribed to this channel. Okay then, let's move on to next update now.
Next, we are going to talk about the latest drama from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap, which illustrates a season filled with deep emotional and marital crises. So this episode really sets the scene for some major relationship upheaval. I mean, we're watching Bronwyn's marriage collapse, Brittany gets into this huge emotional confrontation with Jared, and Mary. She's having this deeply personal return to her family church right as her son relapses. With Bronwyn and Todd, things have hit a breaking point. After she saw a tweet of him looking at photos of another woman, she took her wedding ring right off and kicked him out. And yeah, he came back and admitted he was wrong, but the tension is just so thick. He's upset that she confided in Whitney about their sex life, and while Bronwyn wants to find a new arrangement for their 11-year marriage, Todd just seems focused on brushing it all under the rug. Meanwhile, you've got Brittany. The women are celebrating her at this potluck, but then she faces some serious drama with her love interest, Jared. He confronts her because someone told him she was flirting on a boat trip. He actually calls her unstable and says she runs every 5 seconds. Brittany just walks away crying, completely frustrated by his mind games after what she called the most traumatic experience of her life. And it all kind of culminates with the reopening of Mary's church. Mary gets really vulnerable, revealing her son, Robert Jr., relapsed and was high so he couldn't attend the ceremony. She delivers this incredibly powerful emotional sermon with her gold mic, and you can just see it bringing all of Bronwyn's worries to the surface. And then, surprise, Lisa and Meredith actually show up, supporting Mary and giving us a little hope for peace. So this was today's update about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Let's now move on to next update.
Next, we are going to talk about the latest update regarding Meghan King and Jim Edmonds' custody battle. This whole thing really illuminates the serious results of a recent Child Protective Services investigation, which has just significantly altered the custody arrangement for their 3 young children. So what's happened is that Meghan King has lost sole physical custody of her 3 kids, 8-year-old Aspen and 7-year-old twins Hart and Hayes, to her ex-husband Jim Edmonds. This is a huge shift, and it follows a CPS investigation that got started after a concerned school employee contacted authorities within the last couple of months. For now, the decision gives Jim sole physical custody, while Meghan is granted supervised visitation. It is important to know that this is a temporary ruling, and there's a formal hearing scheduled for early December to sort things out more permanently. Now, this didn't come out of nowhere. The situation became much more contentious starting this May. There was an incident where police were called to the home Jim shares with his wife, Courtney O'Connor. The police report depicts a scene where Meghan, after being told her daughter wasn't home, entered the house, started yelling, and wedged her foot in the door. Courtney didn't press charges, but she did file for a restraining order, and Meghan agreed not to go near her or discuss her on social media. Amidst all this, Meghan has claimed Jim is emotionally abusive, but his representative says she's telling tales and that the kids are the ones who suffer most from the conflict. So this was today's update about the custody development between Meghan King and Jim Edmonds. Let's now move on to the next update.
Next, we are going to talk about the arrest of the Real Housewives of Potomac alum, Mia Thornton. She was recently detained in Atlanta on a larceny charge, and it all stems from accusations that she stole furniture from a rental property. So here's what went down. Mia, who's 40, was arrested on November 19th right at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport because there was a warrant out for her. The charge is larceny connected to a claim that she stole furniture worth about $11,000, we're talking a television and everything, from a furnished condo she'd been renting. The police report really sets the scene. It says that Mia and a man named Jared McGriff, also known as her ex-boyfriend Incognito, just suddenly moved out of the unit in the middle of the night on October 28th. The condo owner filed the report about the alleged theft not long after, on November 6th. And get this, body camera footage apparently depicts Mia telling the police she was already aware of the warrant when they detained her.
Ms. Thornton, you ready? How you doing? I'm Officer Hunt, City of Atlanta Police. You know you have a warrant, correct? Okay. You know what it's for? Cool. All right, cool. So what we're going to do is I'll take you back to our precinct.
Now for a little context, Mia had already confirmed she was moving to Atlanta and leaving the show earlier this year, in April. But the real kicker is this. Just weeks before her own arrest, Mia was making headlines for mocking her former co-star, Wendy Osefo, and her husband after their alleged insurance fraud arrests. Mia even said she was, quote, very, very shocked because I thought Miss 4 Degrees had it together. Mia hasn't spoken out about her own arrest yet, and she remains in custody. So this was today's update about Mia Thornton's arrest. Let's now move on to next.
Okay, next we are going to talk about Sutton Stracke confirming that yes, her Bel Air mansion was recently the target of a home invasion. Her $5.3 million property was hit over the weekend, and this makes her the latest star from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to have to speak out about being the victim of a burglary. So Sutton released a statement and confirmed that her home was targeted on the morning of Saturday, November 15th. The individuals got into her house through a kitchen window, and they stole all of her luxury handbags and some of her fine jewelry. Right after it happened, she immediately hired a 24-hour armed security team and is replacing all of her property surveillance systems. She is, of course, cooperating fully with the police investigation. She also shared the blessing of a home from the Roman ritual on her Instagram story. Just a moment of reflection after everything. This whole break-in, it just evokes such a disturbing trend among the Bravo cast. I mean, devastatingly, on that exact same Saturday, Kathy Hilton's home in Bel Air also experienced a separate break-in. We've seen this before, of course. Remember Kyle Richards' Encino property was robbed in December 2017, and then Dort Kemsley was held at gunpoint during her own home burglary in October 2021? So this was today's update about the recent break-ins affecting the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills cast. Let's now move on to the next update. Next, we are going to talk about former Real Housewives of Orange County star Alexis Bellino, who's giving us a full rundown on her recent drama and alliances following BravoCon and her marriage to John Jansen. And as you know, John is the ex-boyfriend of her former castmate, Shannon Bedore. So Alexis detailed her encounter with Shannon at BravoCon. She says she saw Shannon coming out of a room and heard that Shannon was, quote, dying that Alexis was there. At first, Alexis actually avoided getting in an elevator with her to prevent an awkward moment, to make Shannon comfortable. But she says she regretted it later, realizing she just needs to say hi and get on next time and just move on. Speaking of moving on, she confirmed that legally, she is Alexis Jansen. It's on her marriage certificate, but she says the whole process of changing her name from Bellino will still take some time. Now at BravoCon, she spent time with Tamra Judge and Vicki Gunvalson, and she was strongly encouraging them to squash the beef because they're just such a duo. And get this, she said she did not care how their reunion would impact Shannon. Then she addressed that whole anonymous caller drama on RHOSC. Alexis clarifies that production absolutely knows who the caller is because, well, you have to sign a release form to be heard on television. She believes this whole thing just demonstrates the phoniness with Gretchen Rossi and Slade Smiley, saying their stories just don't align. She even questioned if the call was maybe orchestrated by production, Slade, or someone Slade paid. So this was today's update about Alexis Bellino's BravoCon encounters and RHOSC commentary. Let's now move on to next update. Next, we are going to talk about Ginella and her recent comments regarding the Real Housewives of Orange County. So, Ginella has been busy setting the record straight. She's clarifying some pretty major claims about her relationships with co-stars and, of course, addressing all that high-stakes drama from the end of the last season. People have been saying her friendship with Tamra Judge is just, well, strategic to stay on the show. Katie firmly denies that. She illustrates how organic their bond is by pointing out that Tamra was actually the first person to call her right after she was paused from filming. And then there's all that finale drama. Remember when Jennifer Pedranti, Shannon Bedore, and Gina Kirschenheiter used an anonymous source claiming Tamra leaked info? Well, Katie's take is that they were just trying to stir the pot to, mask their own indiscretions, and she's really emphasizing there's just no proof. She even challenged that source to come out and say it with your whole chest. Now, on to reconciliation. This is interesting. Katie was apparently shocked at BravoCon when she heard Jennifer and Gretchen were gushing over her. She even joked she thought she just saw a pig flying. And here's where she draws a clear line. She confirmed she is willing to reconcile with Jen, for sure, but with Gretchen, that's a hard no. Her reason was incredibly direct, because I'm not a homophobe. She clarified that some of those offensive posts linked to Gretchen are apparently still liked and commented on. So this was today's update about Katie Ginella's reactions to RHOSC claims. Let's now move on to next update.
Next, we're going to talk about the latest surrounding Real Housewives of Atlanta star Porsha Williams. So, what's going on here? Well, Porsha is actually facing an FBI investigation. This all stems from an alleged incident on a Delta flight, heading from Las Vegas back to Atlanta right after BravoCon. And that's really the key. Since it happened up in the air, that's why federal authorities are now involved. Okay, so here's the story coming from Porsha's legal team. Her attorney, Joe Hibachi, clarifies that Miss Williams was first verbally assaulted by, and I'm quoting here, an irate and unhinged passenger, and that this happened without provocation. But then apparently, that very same passenger went and made some false allegations against Porsha, and these allegations, according to her lawyer, directly conflict with what several eyewitnesses actually saw go down. Now, for her part, Porsha's team says she's going to cooperate fully with law enforcement, and honestly, they sound pretty confident that when all is said and done, the other passenger is the one who will ultimately be charged. We do know that Delta confirmed their crew spoke with both passengers, the flight landed as scheduled, and Porsha was seen speaking with at least one police officer once they arrived at the airport.